Hi, okay, so this is the second, I guess, in a series of Occupy Oakland coverage videos for me. I'm going to continue to try to post up the link. I'm going to go edit that first video about the supplies, but I'm going to try to keep editing this and letting you guys know about what's happening in the Occupy Oakland scene because the media doesn't seem to actually be reporting the truth nowadays. But there are a couple things, just two things that I really want to address right now. And the first thing is the organization of the camps. I have heard several times within the media that there is no organization. I have actually heard it amongst people who are in the community and surrounding communities that there is no organization. And I would like to talk about that for a second. First of all, a lot of the people that I'm hearing this commentary from have not been down to see for themselves firsthand. So, it's kind of like not judging a book by its cover, especially when the cover wasn't put forth by the people. It was put forth by the media without the people's consent. I think they're being judged unfairly because for being people who don't have experience on how to build anything, they've actually managed to put up a lot of little areas, and they do have organization. For example, there is a food tent, and next to that food tent, they have an area for compost and an area for recycle paper boxes, which actually you could double as sign making materials, and they actually have a sign that tells you to bring your own markers. But not only that, but they have a dishwashing area right there, and so that they can keep their dishes clean and they can keep all their mess in one area. And then they do have a storage area for the kitchen, so a backup area. So there's like an entire kitchen area, and it's right on the face of City Hall. Then they also have across from it a hand washing station, and right like around from the hand washing station are some porta potties. So they have actually put porta potties out there and hand washing stations to increase the sanitation of the area. They also have pump hand sanitizer bottles everywhere, so that if you need to sanitize your hands before using them to eat or to go into those areas, and that's awesome too. Then they have a children's area. They have a children's play area that has like coloring books and little counting pads and things to play with for children because there are families down there. Not only that, they have a medic tent, so if you need medical assistance, you can go there, and they do have supplies to help you, and they have like first responders on the site. They also have a critical, like a safer spaces tent. If you don't feel safe or you're going to have a panic attack, like you just need somewhere to go sit and chill out, but don't actually need to go to the medic tent, they have a place for you there. They also have an info tent where you can go submit resolutions to be discussed at the General Assemblies on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday nights, all starting at 7 p.m. From 7 to 10 p.m., so that's how unorganized they are, that I actually happen to know the schedule of the General Assemblies. They also have a services tent to where if you wanted to actually offer services like the massages or yoga, or you needed to request some services, you could speak to people there, or the info tent. They have a library tent where they're accepting donations, and, to think that these are people that are vandalizing the city, but then you can go in there and take a book, and whenever you're done, just bring it back. There's no checkout process. These are actually a very trustworthy community within the encampment. They also have a media tent, so if you are going to film or anything, it's suggested that you go in there and check in first, because they're not really welcoming media that would try to skew what they have going on there to the public, or like anybody else who is trying to infiltrate the encampment. So you should really check in there first if you're going to do media. They have a supplies tent where if you need toothbrushes or socks or hats or toothpaste or mouthwash or I don't know, any number of things, you can go to the supply tent and they have things for you there. They also have a tent that's made out of all insulation for women, a safe space for women only. So I think that's really cool. I don't know what else to say about how organized this place could be to be somewhere that's being deemed very unorganized. And so the organization, first of all, of the encampment is amazing, but not to mention that they do have the General Assemblies where I think it's democracy at its rawest form. Any of you who've been watching my videos will have heard me say that a few times by now. And not only do they have that, but they were able to organize one of the biggest marches in Oakland in the past 40 years. The Port of Oakland was shut down effectively to the point to where the Longshoremen Committee decided that they would actually strike in solidarity with with the movement. So, I think organization is something that, needs to not be touched anymore, because if it's one thing that is clearly shown is that this is an event that is extremely organized. There's just isn't a top-down approach. People are saying that they're not organized because it's like we don't have a president or CEO, but we do have a facilitation committee, which if you're a part of the community, you're welcome to join. But if you wanted to talk to somebody and address us as an entire community, you definitely could do that by submitting a resolution or coming up to speak at one of the General Assemblies. So it's very organized. Secondly, I'd like to talk about the violence. While filming around, I have gone out with a friend of mine, and while filming around, we had saw a level of graffiti, but we had also saw a lot of people trying to clean the graffiti, and then we saw the graffiti in some very strange places, like right next to an interfaith temple, and a table honoring the dead for Dia de los Muertos. Okay, I'm sorry if I butchered that. I've been trying to say it right. But it's about honoring the dead. It's about honoring your ancestors. It's not about violence or corruption or any of these types of tactics that the Black Bloc have been using to sabotage the Occupy movement. If you go to any Occupy Oakland website, they're all talking about how we encourage nonviolence. However, if you look at Occupy Oakland, you can see that a lot of banks and Whole Foods and things were tagged and were violently it experienced some sort of violence by this one group, like a faction within the group that is trying to support a violent message, which is not what the overall protesters are trying to do. So you can see that really the violence that is occurring is not even from them. It's like they're vandalizing, yes, which I don't feel is legal or necessary or should be accepted. But we have people within the camp that are asking the police department if they can make citizens arrests for these incidents because they don't want to be tear gassed after Jean Quan is who is the mayor, by the way, for those of you who are watching and don't know, who has come and said that the encampment can be there, that they can stay there, and that she fully supports the movement. As a matter of fact, it's very interesting that she told most of the city workers that they will get the day off. As a matter of fact, please take the day off to participate in the march on the Port of Oakland, but then told all Oakland police officers that they need to be at work that day, and even if they have their day off, to keep that in control. So I'm like, you were directly putting city workers in harm's way with that confusing decision. With that conflicting decision that you made. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to touch on that since we talked about how unorganized the encampment was. I think we should focus on really how unorganized the establishment is, and how innocent people, including children, are having to pay for that. And if you go to ustream.tv/channel/Bella Echo, you'll be able to see this. And I'm going to try to edit this video once it's on YouTube to make sure that this link will keep popping up so that you can see the aftermath of the tear gassing and how people were responding to that, because it was very unfair. And so while we're talking about violence, I think the most violent people are the City of Oakland Police Department, not the actual encampment or the protesters there, because everybody was peaceful until tear gas and rubber bullets started flying. I don't think any actual violence had taken place, at least not on behalf of the protesters. It was the faction within these Black Bloc or whatever they call themselves. But you can clearly see that nobody else is vandalizing. We have prayer groups, we have interfaith temples, we have children's tents and medic tents and food tents to feed the people who are out there, to keep them warm and to keep them from getting sick. So while we're talking about the disorganized the disorganization of the encampment or of the movement in itself, I think it's a hasty generalization. I think that people need to stop paying attention to the major media networks, because it's going against their best interest, like I said, for them to support a movement that goes against their corporate sponsors. So before you pass judgment on the movement without having been down there, please come down there and talk to some of the people and just try to see what's going on before passing judgment.